presentation today is Tools for Landmen. A lot of people know our company, courthousedirect.com, and the services we provide to the title industry and to the real estate industry. And about a year ago, or a year and a half ago, we decided we really needed to provide a service to the oil and gas industry. We thought that was really lacking what was out there, and we had built a lot of incredible databases for the title insurance industry, but wanted to do the same for the oil and gas industry. And our company has been in business a long time. It's 31 years in business. We're located here in Houston, and we own several different companies. One is courthousedirect.com, which is our online document images and Grantor Grantee Indexes. Also, we own Integrity Title Company. We are a licensed title agent in all the counties where we build title plants, and we're licensed in 37 counties in Texas. And then our title plant building company is Integrity Title Records, and that's also the database that we pull records for the oil and gas industry. In fact, we are the largest provider of title plant facilities for the oil and gas industry in Texas. We also own an abstracting company, which is Courthouse Specialist, and so when people need for us to do some research for them, then we're happy to do that through Courthouse Specialist. We also sponsor a couple of websites that you may or may not be aware of or familiar with, and one is courthousesquare.com, which allows you to find a local real estate or legal professional in the area you're looking. So for instance, if you're looking for a surveyor or an engineer located in, let's say, Washington County, Texas, you can drill down to the county and then find that local person to help you out. So we've got a lot of oil and gas landmen that are on the phone with us today, and you can also list your services on that website too, Courthouse Square. We also maintain a website which is landmandirect.com, which is really a training website for landmen, just to give them good information about different resources available to them. Now, I do have Karen Riddle on the phone. Karen, are you there?
Yes, good morning. Welcome.
Karen is our business development manager for Courthouse Direct, and she's going to be monitoring the different questions that you might have. So I would encourage you to find the chat box or the question and answer box on your dashboard, and as you have questions as we're going through here, feel free to ask those as we go along, and we'll try to get those answered certainly before we end our program. And we will try to keep this as concise and targeted as we can today. Again, it is geared toward the landmen. So the different services we provide for landmen are document images statewide and nationwide. We have about 1,000 counties nationwide where we provide document images of real property documents. And when we say real property, that could be deeds, mortgages, oil and gas leases, really anything that's filed in the real property records. We also provide Grantor Grantee Indexes in about 80 counties in Texas, although we're going to be adding a lot more counties as we're going along here, and we're going to demonstrate our Grantor Grantee Indexes, and I think you'll like what you see there. We also have scanning crews, and we go into courthouses and we scan all the records we can in the courthouse. That's the handwritten Grantor Grantee Indexes, the mortgage records, the deed records, and we take those records all the way back. So you're going to see a lot of the older records in our demonstration today. We also have some what we call specialized searches. One is oil and gas lease check, where essentially you can go into an area, put in a survey name or abstract number, and look at all the oil and gas activity in that portion of the county. We also have property reports. So if you're a landman and you're doing leasing and you're trying to find people that have moved to the West Coast or East Coast or something like that, we have a nationwide, what we call a nationwide asset search. So you can find those people that have moved away but still own real estate in different states or counties across the state. We also recently rolled out a new tool we call our Oil and Gas Lease Alert, and that's where you can sign up in a county and find out all the new oil and gas leases that are filed in a county you're working in or counties you're interested in, or if you just want to know what's going on in the industry, there's not really a better tool. We also build title plants for non-insurance purposes, and we call that our geo index. And this is really for these in-depth research that you do. These are title plants and indexes. Some of them are historical tract book plants that have essentially were built over a period of 100 years. And so we've been able to get in a lot of this data in these oil and gas counties, and just a wealth of information that we have there, and we'll show that to you. Really what we're most proud of, we think, is that we built our databases as researchers, that is abstractors and landmen, for abstractors and landmen. And we know we do have some competition out there, but I would argue, though, folks that we compete with in general are not oil and gas landmen. They're probably more computer people that figured out, hey, we can take data and put it online from a courthouse. But as a researcher, we know what we need to get out of the record, and then we just make those records available to you. Again, I mentioned that we have these tract book plants and these card plants. For instance, what you're looking at is a tract book plant that goes back to sovereignty in the Tarrant County area. And then we have different card plants where it's like going into the actual title plant and flipping through the cards, and people that have been around the business for a while know what I'm talking about there. And also to our historical documents. So if you're looking for a document, an easement back in the 30s or an oil and gas lease back in the 50s, we try our best to get into these courthouses and get those records going back as far as we can. Again, our emphasis today is on oil and gas records. So we're going to see how you can get to the different oil and gas information that you need to be able to do your lease check or be able to run a full mineral title chain. One thing that you, of course, need a lot of times as an oil and gas landman is access to subdivision plats. So again, part of our dedication in terms of getting data from the courthouses is to get our hands on the subdivision plats themselves. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and move the courthousedirect.com page in front of me. And I'm not logged in, so let me go ahead and log in first. So I just click on the button at the top right-hand corner, and then let me just go ahead and get logged in. So I know that I'm logged in because I can see my name at the top right-hand corner. And so if you look at the tabs across the top, you'll see we have real property documents, grantor grantee indexes, property reports, GIS, which is our area down here where you can actually look at different mapping. And then you can have a list of favorite counties, so if you know that you're working in certain counties all the time, it's a shortcut to get you to that information. And then if we look along the left-hand side, you can see the different tabs. So we do have document images nationwide, also tax information nationwide. And then down in Texas, you can see where we have the real property documents, the grantor grantee indexes, manual retrieval and research for people that need that. Also, we provide the historical records, as I was mentioning, the older documents you would find in the historical record area. And then our title plants for non-insurance purposes is our geo index. We also have a lot of banks and lenders that use our website. So we built a separate search for them that we call an adverse lien search, which essentially allows the user to go in and look for any involuntary liens. So that's any abstracted judgments, state tax liens, federal tax liens, and that sort of thing. And as I mentioned, we do have our Lease Alert tool, and we'll show you that in just a little bit. Also, Lease Check is along the left-hand side. And then something I really want to point out to you is this Texas Data Coverage button. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and just open it. So you'll see this is our, if you're wondering, well, how far back do the records go in a particular county, and is there a title plant available, or are there handwritten grantor grantee books available? You can go to this list on our Texas Data Coverage, and essentially starting at the top left-hand corner, we call this our searchable indexes and images. So what we call our current index are those that are electronic. So we may have an electronic index that goes back to the 1970s or 1980s, and then we've got other electronic indexes that will go all the way back to the 1800s. And then we also tie the document images to the indexes, and that's what we consider our current images. And then kind of moving to the right, you see this area that says historical index and books. So again, when we go into courthouses, we not only scan the document images, but we also scan the handwritten grantor grantee books. And so if you're wondering if those grantor grantee indexes are available, that's where you would find them. And then the historical images. And then you see a column here that's called a back plan. So in some counties, what we've been able to do is acquire, let's say, a title plant that was going out of business, or we're willing to sell them our records, and we're able to acquire those records, and we know if we can use a title plant working our way back, that's really a great tool. So I'm going to go ahead and close out or go back to our to the courthousedirect.com website. And then you notice primarily what we do is provide document images and grantor grantee indexes. So I'm going to click on Real Property Documents. And then there's a button in the middle of the screen that says Available Counties. So when I click on that, you can see we have almost 1,000 counties that we have online nationwide. And then if you look in Texas, we've got 127 counties in Texas where we have the actual document images. So I can click on Texas, and then, for instance, I can click on Brazos County and go to Brazos County, and I can put in the volume and page number of the document I need. So for instance, if I'm looking for volume 3133, page number 244, I can put in a job number and say this is, track 10 or whatever it is that I'm working on, just to keep track of what I'm doing. And then I click Buy Document Image, and down below you'll see the button that says View Image. So when I click on that, I just simply click Open, and there's my document on the screen. So, and let's say, for instance, I have another document I want to pull, which is volume 2964, page 2222. Again, I can charge that to track 10, or I could charge it to something else. I simply click Buy Document, and then go down below and click Open. I've got the document on the screen. So that's how quickly I can get to the documents if I know the file numbers of the documents, or if I know the volume and page recording of the documents themselves. Now, if I were to want to go to another county, for instance, I'm in Brazos County, but I'd like to go to Harris County and pull a document there, and I can just go choose the county that I want to go to. In Harris County, we use a little bit different system, a letter in 6 digits. So for instance, if I just put in the letters in 6 digits, and then say in this case I want to charge this to track number 11, I click on Buy Document, and then down below you can see where it says View Image, and then I can open and have the document on the screen. So again, I can move from one county to the other and just save all this data as I'm moving from one county. And for instance, if I wanted to email this information to Karen, who's on the line with me, there's a couple ways I could do that. I could, down at the bottom, I could just grab this box of data here and then just do a right-click copy. Or you notice there's a button that says Email Receipt. So I'm going to click on the Email Receipt button, and that actually sends me an email that I can open up. And then I can, and once I open up that email, for instance, I'm going to move this onto my screen here. Once I open up that email, I can hit the forward button, and you're going to notice I did the copy and paste before, so I'm just going to paste this in, and you can see all of these buttons where it says View Image. When I hold my mouse over, it's a hyperlink back to the document. So if I want to send this to Karen, then I can just put her email address in here, hit the Send button, and she's receiving those documents, and all she has to do to open the document is to just click View Image. So instead of sending these large TIFF images around, we can just move this data around very quickly with hyperlinks back to the documents themselves. So I'm going to click back on the Home button, top left-hand corner. And now let's go in and do some grantor grantee searching. So to get to any particular county, I can choose the state and then drill down to the county. So in this instance, I'm just choosing the state, and now I'm choosing Harris County. And again, we talked about all the different services that we have, and you can see in Harris County we have all of these different services available. There may be other counties where we either don't have the services available yet, but they may be coming soon, and you'll be able to kind of keep track of what services are coming soon. And when we say coming soon, essentially that means we've purchased the data, it's working its way through the system, and should be online, we hope within, within weeks, I would say. Perhaps days, but sometimes weeks. So I want to jump into the Grantor Grantee Index here in Harris County. and I'm going to run a name, and the name I want to run is Smith, and then the first name Anna. And I'm running a fairly, let's do Anna. I'm running a fairly common name, and you notice I'm putting that name under the party name. So I could run grantor or grantee, and when I run party, I'm actually searching both the grantor and the grantee for everything with Anna Smith. We're displaying 100 records to a page, and therefore we have 6 pages because there's 516 records. So from here, I can just go through the pages and look at the data I'm looking for. And if you notice, when we set up our grantor grantee indexes, the columns are reading left to right, grantor, grantee, the document type, the clerk file number, the file date, then the legal description of the property, and then sometimes you'll get a reference column so that you can reference back to a prior document or something like that. And essentially, when we built our indexes, we wanted to build them as close to what you would experience when you're using the county clerk's office. We want to just be very consistent with what you're used to using as an oil and gas landman out of the clerk's office. And so, for instance, I can go through these 6 pages and look for whatever it is I'm looking for, but I also can hit the back button on my browser, and we have an area here that we call a sub-search. And so if I knew that Anna Smith did some business with someone named Marshall, or she owned property in the Marshall subdivision or the Marshall survey, I can match Anna Smith and Marshall, and very quickly it narrows those 500 and something records down to 4 records. So if I know that's the record that I need, I simply click on the box, click on Buy Selected Document, then that goes to our image database, and you can see the View Image button at the top. It's a 13-page document. I want to open that document. Now, people that have seen me do a demonstration before have seen me show this document. It's kind of an interesting document in that it's Anna Nicole Smith, also known as Vicki Lynn Marshall, and they went on a little shopping spree to New York, and he bought her a $455,000 diamond ring, a $493,000 necklace, and actually spent $2 million that day and put 1.6 on the American Express card. Now, it's kind of a funny document, but I like the document because it shows how we can take a common name like Smith and match that against some other small information that we have, which is Marshall, and be able to go right to that information that I'm looking for. And that's really the power, we think, of our databases. There are some copycat companies out there that all of a sudden are thinking, well, we can do that too. But we were the first ones to do this. In fact, we're talking about grantor grantee indexes here. A lot of you may not know this, but we were actually the first company in the nation to put a grantor grantee index on the internet, and that was about 15 years ago. So now I'm going to click on the new search button at the top, and that would allow me to go right back in and do another search. And now, for instance, I want to choose a different county. I want to go into Brazos County, very active oil and gas county, as y'all might know. But I'm going to go into Brazos County, and I want to do a search in Brazos County. Now, you notice that in Brazos County, we have the grantor, grantee, the party name. We also have the sub-search like we had in Harris County. What you also see here is the ability to search by the survey or legal description in the abstract and with the number of acres, which is going to make searching our grantor grantee indexes much more powerful. Now, we haven't added this capability in a few counties, but as we're going along, we're adding this capability where you can search by legal description. So, for instance, I know that the survey that I'm doing my searching in is the Evans survey. So I'm just going to type in the word Evans under the legal, and it's going to go through the whole database looking for anything that's filed in the Evans survey. And this would include any mortgages, deeds, anything that's against the property, mechanics liens, and that sort of thing. And you can see that the searching takes a few seconds because it really is going through a lot of information to be able to come up with the results that we're looking for here. So now what it found here was 1,202 records at the top. And let's say, for instance, because you're searching an entire survey, if you ended up with over 1,500 records, it would give you a message at the top that said narrow your date range because you ended up with over 1,500 records, and you'd need to go in and just keep that date range a little bit smaller. So if we look at this, you can see all the different types of documents that are being filed in here. So not only your deeds and mortgages, but also the oil and gas leases and that sort of thing. But let's say, for instance, I want to narrow this information down because I see there's an Evans survey that's abstract 111. Here's an abstract 110. There's also, let's say, an abstract 118. So if I hit the back button on the browser one time and say, well, what I'm really looking for is the Evans survey that's abstract 118. So you notice I didn't put an A in front. I'm just putting in the 118 and saying search everything with Evans, with survey name Evans that's in 118. And you see what we've done here. We've sorted out only the documents that we're finding that are in Evans 118. So let's say, for instance, I know a party's name that I'm looking for in Evans. There's a couple things I can do here. The name I wanted to search was just the name Smith in this group of information, which is 2 pages of information, 147 records, and I'm looking for the name Smith. So you notice at the top where it says narrow search, I'm just putting in Smith and saying go find everything within these 147 records that has the name Smith. So we're just narrowing this data down to a smaller subset, and you can see where Smith bought the property and then where Smith may have sold the property. And I see that Smith sold to Hester down here, to Geraldine Hester. So again, I can hit the back button one time and just say, now I know the name that I'm looking for is Hester. So I'm just going to say, go find Hester out of this group of records, the 147 records. And so it's going through the database and looking for anything with Hester. So we see the records into Hester and then records out of Hester. And essentially, this allows you to build a chain of title very quickly out of the survey itself. There's also another way that I could have searched this. If I hit the back button twice on the browser and I get back to where I ran the name Evans in 118, then I can just put under the party name Hester and then search that, and it essentially will bring up the very same results. So you can use the narrow search function that's on the page, or you can choose to just narrow the search from the actual search page. So let's say, for instance, I'm pretty much finished running my search in Brazos County. I want to go to Atascosa County now. Again, I can click on the home button, top left-hand corner, click on Texas, click on Atascosa, go to the Grantor Grantee Index. In this case, I know some information. I know that I'm searching for something that's in the Gallatin survey. So that's spelled Gallatin. So I'm just going to put in Gallatin under legal. It's going to look for anything that has the word Gallatin in it. So I'm looking for anything with Gallatin. And you'll notice that it's searching a survey column and also searching the free-form column for anything with Gallatin. But let's say, for instance, I know what I'm looking for in Gallatin is a 110-acre tract. So I can hit the back button. Again, that wasn't very many records, but I just want to demonstrate. If I put in 110 and then put a dot like 110.34 or whatever and just search that, it goes and finds everything under Gallatin that's 110 acres. Then it highlights those 110. So if you have so you can go in and just search, by the acreage out of the survey, and if that helps you build a chain of title quicker, then that's a real value to you and in the time that you'll save as a researcher. And again, from here, if these were the documents I wanted to download, I can just click on the boxes, say get the documents, and then I can just click view image, and then open the documents, and I can just read these documents one at a time and save them. So once I've downloaded the document, I own it, I can do whatever I want to with it. So, and I'm going to just do one more search. I'm going to say, click on the home button again. This time I'm looking in the Carnes survey. So back to Texas, letter K, Carnes. Again, back to the Grantor Grantee. I know the survey that I'm looking for is the Ruiz survey. So again, I'm going to put that under the legal, R-U-I-Z, and search that. So I can see there's actually 13 pages of Ruiz. So that's a fairly active survey. But I know what I'm looking for is the let's say, for instance, a 4.29 acre tract. Again, same way with this narrow search here, I could put the 4.29, but I'm going to hit the back button and just again under the acres 4.29 and say go find everything out of that 13 pages with a 4.29, and essentially you're able to pretty quickly build a chain of title. It's not something you would bet the ranch on that, hey, I've pulled up everything out of this survey, that deals with this particular property. But I know as a researcher, if I can get a good chain of title fast, then that means I can build I can double check my chain by running my Grantor Grantee Index. So for instance, if I'm running Paula Buckner, again, I'm just going to copy her name, say new search, go to the party name, and just paste in Paula Buckner, and then goes to the database and finds all the activity with Paula Buckner. I see Paula sold to this David Caraval. I could take that name, say new search, very quickly paste in the party name. I like to run the party name because you're going to pick up everything, and then we can look at everything with David Caraval and then see where he added. So again, the power of our Grantor Grantee Indexes, I think, really are unmatched. And let's think about you as let's say, an administrator of an account, or you have, let's say, several landmen that are working with you. That's really the beauty of our system. If you look at the top right-hand corner, there's a My Account button here. And you can also manage your organization's users. So for instance, if you added a landman to your staff, you can go in on your own. You don't need our help. Just go in, set up the username and password, and add that person to your account. Also, too, if you wanted to look at the documents that are being pulled today by your staff, you can just click on, it defaults to today's date. So this is all the documents that are being pulled in my office today. And if I go down, I'll see these particular documents. And if I said, I saved this document, but I can't remember where I saved it, you can just simply click on the document, then open it up and save it again if that's what you'd like to do. So from an administrative standpoint, we've really built these systems, and notice too the job numbers that are in these columns here. So if you're asking your folks to keep track of the projects and where you want to charge for the documents, you can do that through this administrative area. So so now we've been able to pull the documents, do the Grantor Grantee searches. Now I want to look at the historical records that we have. And again, let's find that button along the left-hand side that says Historical Deeds, Plats, etc. So when I click on that, what I'm showing you right here actually is the largest repository of real property information in Texas. There's nothing that even comes close to what I'm showing you here in terms of the amount of data that's out there. And so if we look along here and we say, well, I'm looking for a deed, or let's say I want to run a Grantor Grantee Index in Bastrop County. So I can click on that, and then you see where it says Grantor Grantee, and I can see the date range, and I can say, well, what I'm really looking for is the Grantee Index, let's say from 1837 to 1973, and I'm actually looking for something that's under the letter C. Now, when we built these different Grantor Grantee Indexes, what we tried to do is make it as reflective or as similar to the county as you can get. So we don't want to get fancy here. What we want to do is give you all the information. We work very hard to make sure that we're scanning every page, and this is the same data we use for our work. So it's very important to us that it's accurate and it's all the information is there. Now, if we look at this particular index, you know how these work. If they have a common name in the county, like this name Cherry, then all the cherry is going to be located on page 325. And but let's say, for instance, I'm looking for somebody that has a next spelling of CHA. I know I'm looking on page 13. Karen, you might want to mute your phone there. So I'm looking for page 13. You can see that that's going to be between page 10 and page 15. So I'm just going to click on page 10, And now I want to flip to the next page. If you notice at the top, there's a button that says Next. That will allow me to just turn to the next page. There's also a little slider on the left-hand side that I can just keep open and just flip through the pages, and I'm trying to get to page 13. So there's page 13. So from here, I can just work my way down the page and look at everything that I need to look at, turn to the next page, look at everything I want to look at, and then I say, you know, the document I need here is volume 108, page 9. So I'm going to leave the index that I'm in, and you notice on the left-hand side I'm just backing out and closing these windows. If you leave them open, when you come back, they'll remain open. So I want to go back to my deed record, and what I'm looking for is volume 108. So I'm just going to click on 108, and I'm looking for page 9. So I'm just going to go to page 9, and there's our document, which is page 9. Kind of an interesting document. It actually is the Republic of Texas. Anson Jones was the president of the Republic. So and so that's kind of an interesting document here. But again, if I wanted to pull an oil and gas record, again, I'm just going to close out of these records. I know these are it's labeled as deeds just to label it as a document. And I'm looking for an oil and gas record that, let's say, is in volume 112, and I'm looking for page, let's say, page 1 even. If I go to page 1, then there's my oil and gas lease, and again, I can just flip through these pages. And if I wanted to download the documents, you notice there is a download button at the top. I just simply click on the button and then download those individual pages. A lot of our databases, we actually have like where we have all the documents stapled together, and there's other databases or image databases that we haven't stapled them together yet. So this would be one that we haven't stapled. So you would download the individual pages, and then you would turn them into a multi-page PDF. So, and then also too, if I knew I needed to look at a plat, I could go in here. Let's say I'm looking for cabinet 4, and I'm looking for page number 10B, for instance. I can look at this and say, well, this is the first page of the plat. Obviously, this is some kind of a subdivision called Camp Swift. I want to look at the additional pages on the plat, and it's important that I be able to read really all the dimensions on the plat. So I have the ability to blow up this image and get more granular in terms of access to the information. Also, too, I can change the lighting. So the bottom right-hand corner, there is a lighting button. I can just move the little bar up and down and be able to change the lighting. So there's typically an optimal size that you want the image to be able to read it effectively. And let's say, for instance, on this 4 or 5 page map, you may just want the cover page and maybe this page because your area is along the east side of the property or something. So you can choose to only print the pages that you want to print if that's what you'd like to do. So that's Bastrop County. Let me jump over to Harris County. And I mentioned that we do have historical title plants where we've been able to acquire this data over the years. And let's say I'm looking for, let's say, abstract 225. So if I drill down to 225 and then I go to the first page of abstract 225, again, that looks a little bit light on the screen. So I want to make that darker. So I simply move my little bar down here so I can read it. And then I want to kind of flip through the pages of the title plant of the tract book. So typically in Harris County, you're working in what we call a worked out survey, where you have mapping that's tied to the data, or you're working in what we call an unworked survey, also known as a small survey, which can kind of be deceiving. But essentially, you can see the first record or the second record, at least at the top, is the actual patent from the state of Texas on this particular area. So you can see that I can run my chain of title and just flip through these pages out of here. And then if I say, well, you know, the document I need is this volume 101, page 516, which looks like it's looks like Junkie or Junkie to Schultz, looks like a deed there. Then I can just close out of the title plant that I'm in, go back up to where my documents are located. And what I was looking for was, let's say, volume 101, 516. So I just need to drill down to 101. So I'm just going to go down to there, 101. And I want to go to 516. Now, kind of the beauty of this, it's kind of like pulling a book off the shelf, which that's what we like to do as landmen, right, is just pull the book off the shelf and then flip through the pages and get to whatever it is that I'm looking for. So in this case, again, I'm looking for page number 516. It's down at the bottom here. And there's my one-page document here. And I can see this actually is a document filed in or at least executed in 1897. So, and you can see the quality of the images. It's important to us to provide high-quality resolution images. We don't want to try to sell someone an image they can't read. And in fact, if a document is hard to read, we usually don't put it up. We just say we don't have it. And sometimes that's a factor of the scanning equipment, or it's, in the computer world they call it garbage in, garbage out. So we don't want to put up anything that you can't read. And so occasionally people say, well, you don't have this document, yeah, because the original that we had just, did not suffice for us to be able to make that available. So one more county I just want to show you before we get out of this historical area is Wise County. So for instance, in Wise County, I was mentioning you can look at all the different types of records that we have in Wise County, mechanic lien records and probate records, release records, and so on. And so if you're doing let's say a drill site opinion and you need access to every single document that's there, again, our emphasis is to try to go in and scan every piece of paper we can. Sometimes you'll see the probate indexes, but not the actual probate minutes. But that's another big initiative of ours this year, is to get our hands on as many probate records as we can. But if we go to the Wise County card plant, and let's say we're looking for a survey, and we know the survey name is, let's say, I think it's the Mann survey that I've worked in before. So I'm looking for the Mann survey, and I'm looking for abstract 565. And I can look at this and say, well, there's going to be 27 cards that I'm going to be thumbing through, if you will. And so I'm just going to go to the first card here. And again, depending on the lighting, you can kind of make that a little easier to read. And now we're just going to flip through the cards. So again, just simply hitting the next button and just going from one card to the next, just like you would if you had pulled the cards out of the tray at the title company and flipped through them. The beauty of this is that the cards don't get out of order. So, once they've been scanned and they're in proper order, they should be, easy enough for you to use, as a landman. So again, the depth of information that we have is critical. Particularly, you'll run across these counties where we have data that the data goes back a long way. Now, again, I'm going to encourage y'all, if y'all do have any questions, to go ahead and start posing those questions now. I'm going to go ahead and go into the what we call our title plant area, or our geo index area. So you notice this is labeled as geo index. And so this is also really known as you'd call it our current title plants, which are these are indexed set of records. And so, for instance, I wanted to run a search in Denton County, so I'm just going to choose Denton County. And I know the volume and page recording of the subdivision, and it's volume 13, page 13 of the map records. And I'm looking for lot number 5, and I'm looking for block number C. And some counties, we would ask you for the survey name or the abstract, survey or subdivision name up front, and then the lot and block. In this particular county, we search by the volume and page recording of the subdivision plat. So essentially, I just hit the search button, and it's going through the database and kind of working like a Google search, and then it's looking for all the records that are in that particular volume and page recording that are in lot 5, block C. So, and wherever we see the colors that are matching across, it means essentially we got a good results there. I'm actually going to start at the bottom and kind of work my way up. And so the first record that I see where all the colors match across is this release. And again, I'm just kind of working my way up, just adding this information into a run sheet. So if the colors don't match, I don't add it. So I'm just adding these. you normally don't have this many variations on the name. There's usually a lot less, but this is a little unusual. But let's say, for instance, I've added this information into a report, and now I want to name the report. So again, we're just going to keep calling this track 10, and then we're going to say add selected to report. So it's going to take those particular records that I've just added to the report, and it's going to save it, if you will, into a separate database. And now that I've run, let's say, the legal description on the property, I typically would go back and say, okay, where's my deed? It looks like my deed is into this I'm looking for it, into this Charles Hill or Janice Hill person. So for instance, I might want to go ahead and run the name, Janice Hill for all the activity on her name. So you notice when we're running a name, we want to take out all the middle initials. We want to keep those results as broad as possible. Anything that has to do with Lake Hill here, we want to add that to our report. And there's a certified copy of the divorce, so we'd want to add that too. So I'm just adding this information into a report, and now I'm going to click on View Report. And let's say, for instance, it's not in chronological order, and I want to make sure that what I'm looking at is in chronological order. And I just click on the Date Recorded button, and that keeps it in chronological order. And then I say, now I want to pull all my documents for this run sheet that I'm building. So I just clicked on the little asterisk on the left-hand side, and there's all my documents. So I can just go in here and, let's say, for instance, I can, open up a deed. This is a prior deed, actually a trustee's deed. I can look at that document, and then I can say, okay, this is my vesting deed, and I can just go through and save all this information. But let's say, for instance, I want to send this report to Karen. I can click on Save Report as MS Word, and down at the bottom I've got a choice of Open or Save. Well, I really want to open because I want to open a Word document. So what I've done is I've taken that run sheet that you see behind it that I was building, and now it's in a Word document. In the Word document, this is at 130%, I can make that a little bit easier to work with. And because it's a Word document, I can use all the functionality on Word. So for instance, the warranty deed, I want to maybe highlight that, or if there was a divorce, I might want to highlight that. So I want to highlight certain things, or I want to write on this document to say, hey, this guy had a 1/2 mineral interest reserved or something. I could just type in here, note, 1/2 mineral reserved, and then by doing that, I can just highlight that, and now I want to send this to Karen. So I'm going to go save. I'm going to say save and send as an attachment, and I might want to even relabel this as a run sheet, track 10, and send that to Karen. And then when Karen receives that, she's going to be able to open any of these documents just by simply clicking on the documents themselves. So I don't want to save the Word document, but so this is a powerful tool to be able to do this. And the same capability that we have for being able to do these lease searches, you can click on the lease document or the lease search at the top and be able to narrow your searches down to leases. I can also look for just easements that might affect a particular area. And so there's different kind of sub-searches that I can do, built into our systems here. So this geo-index that we provide here is a very powerful tool. I mean, this is in essence, the same tool that the title agencies use to be able to do their job. And again, we are the largest provider of title plant facilities in Texas. And when we built this, it was important that we make this data available to non-insurance users also. I do see some questions coming in, and I'm going to get to those in just a minute, but I want to jump over and show you a couple more things here. I mentioned that if you're a leasing agent and you're trying to track down people that have moved outside of Texas, for instance, if I know the party's name that I'm looking for, and I'm going to put in my last name and my brother's first name, Cones is kind of an unusual name, so I'm going to search nationwide for John Cones. So it goes all through the nation and finds people in Arizona, in California, in Houston, Texas, and North Carolina, and so on. And so from here, I'm looking at actually 1,600 counties nationwide. If I knew the address of someone I was looking for, I could put in just the address, 1326 Moorhead, my address, and I'm going to search nationwide for 1326 Moorhead. You notice I'm not putting in a city, state, or anything. Just go find that particular record, and very quickly it comes back with my record here. So, and again, when I click on the Available County button, you can see this is all over the country. So share this with your leasing agents, because there's, you can use the white pages and try to track people down, but to be able to find people using this property report is just an absolutely powerful tool. So now let's look at our lease check along the left-hand side. Let's say, for instance, I know that I'm needing to do a lease check, and I know the lease check that I want to do is in Wilson County, for instance. So I'm just going to go down to Wilson County, and what do I know? Well, what I know is that the energy company that I know is very active out there is Talisman Energy. So I'm going to search TALIS. I think I've done that. And you notice I'm not typing out energy. I'm just putting the E in there and say, go find everything with Talisman Energy that's in the Wilson survey. Well, it comes up with 3 pages. Well, I want to go to the last page because I want to see the most recent activity that they're doing out here. And when I go there, let me go down to the bottom, I can see there's some leases they're doing in this Manchaca survey. So essentially, I can just copy Manchaca, click on New Lease, search, take that name Manchaca, paste it into my legal description, and say go find everything out of Manchaca that's being leased right now. So essentially, it's going through the database looking for anything that's in the Wilson survey that's out of the Manchaca survey where there's leasing activity, and you can see there's 10 pages of information. If I want to go to the very last page, again, I just drill down to page 10, and I like to kind of work my way from the most current, and work my way back, and I can look in here and say, well, looks like this is who's buying leases or trading leases in this particular area. So it's not oil and gas leases only. It's assignments of royalty interest, mineral deeds, oil and gas memorandums, designations of units. So anything that's oil and gas related, we're extracting that information and putting it into this database. So that's a search in Wilson County, but let's say I want to look for something in Madison County. I just say, click on a new lease check. Let me choose a different county. Let me go over to Madison County. So I'm going to choose Madison County. And sometimes it wants you to kind of refresh to get there. But let's say I know a survey name, and it's the Brinberry Survey. So I'm going to put in BRNBERRY. If I'm spelling that right. Or Brim, I believe is M. It's an M. I'm looking for the Brinberry Survey. So I'm going to just search that. Again, it's looking through the whole database, looking for anything that's oil and gas related that's out of Brimberry. And then it comes back and it says it found 425 records. Well, what I was really looking for is what Burke Royalty was doing out of there. So I could just hit my back button and put in just BURK, and so Burke Royalty, and then search that, and it's matching anything that has Burke Royalty that's out of Brimberger, or Brimberry rather. So you can see very quickly, I can see all the activity that they're doing that's oil and gas related out of that particular area. Just a powerful tool. Let's see. Now I want to just show you very quickly the lease alert, and I want to see how we're doing for time. We're only going to be on the line probably another 5 or 10 minutes, so bear with me. If I click on the lease alert button on the left-hand side, this is the sign-up page for lease alert. And I would encourage, if you're in the oil and gas business, I would encourage yourself and anyone you know to sign up on this, because it's a free service and you can keep track of what's going on in the industry. So certainly you want to keep track of the things that are going on in the county that you're searching, but you also want to keep track of where people are active. So for instance, if you knew there were 200 leases that were filed in Burleson County last week, that might be important. It may be an area that if you're looking for work, that may be you may want to knock on some doors over there on the people that are doing leasing over there. So essentially what we do is we're combing the information as it goes through the courthouse, extracting anything that's labeled as a lease. That could be an oil and gas lease, memorandum of lease, and that sort of thing. The same information that you see on the lease check. Now, we're not going through to absolutely make sure they're all oil and gas leases. Sometimes you'll see like a tower site or something like that, or maybe even a surface lease, to maybe even for grazing or something. But the main thing, the important thing, is to get this information to you as a landman, so you know what's going on out there as soon as you can find out about it. So, for instance, I want to just bring up a lease check that I got a couple of days ago, and so this is what a lease check looks like. So it comes back and says, okay, we're telling you also to the new counties that we're going to be adding soon. But let's say, for instance, I want to look at Smith County. So there's looks like 22 records in Smith County. Now these are all the 22 records that we're finding. So we can look at this and say, well, it looks like there's a lot of activity in the River Survey or RIVE Survey, whatever that is. Also the Florist League, looks like there's some activity there. But I want to look at this document. So I'm just clicking on View Image on the left-hand side, and then I just click on that and then click on Memorandum of Lease. And then I can see, well, that's what I needed to know, or that's who I thought it was, or that's the that's the return address for the mineral purchaser, or something like that. So, and this is actually free to actually view the documents and to look at this information. So, and again, if I knew that I was looking for activity that's in the Moore survey, I could just, let's say, copy the word Moore, go down here, click on Run a Lease Check, and then so it's going to drop me into the lease check area. Need to click on it, and then I could just drill down to Smith County. Say, well, the survey that I'm looking for is the Moore survey, and I can do a real quick lease check just in that area. So that's how quickly you can move from the lease alert to the lease check and to the Grantor Grantee Indexes. So you can just kind of navigate between one record to the other very quickly. So, let's see here. So that's really what I wanted to show you. What I get is frequently asked questions, and it's probably some of the questions that you're probably posing to me now. One is, how current is your information? Well, I would tell you that our information is as current as we can get it from the county. So if the county will deliver the data on a weekly basis, we'll acquire it weekly. If they deliver it, bi-weekly, that's how current we get it. There are some counties that they don't want to really provide the data until on a monthly basis or every 3 weeks. So we try our very best to get that information as quickly as we can and get it into our system. So that's important to us. And because we build title plants for title insurance companies, we have a certain obligation, if you will, to our title insurance companies to keep that information just as current as we can. Another question is, what is the quality of the data? Well, again, because we build title plants for title insurance companies, and the databases that we build are ones where we insure properties that are, as much as $100 million for title insurance. We're also, the same people that build these on our side are the ones that are building the databases for the oil and gas industry. So we're very conscientious about what we're doing in terms of making sure that there's, what will kill you is a gap in the data. So that's something that we just are very, very careful of, and so in terms of the quality of the data, again, very conscientious about that. The other question that we get, of course, is, what is the cost? The beautiful thing really is that the Grantor Grantee Indexes that we provide, the lease check, the lease alert, the historical documents, to be able to view those historical documents, all of that is free. So really the only time you pay on our website is when you decide to download a copy, or if you want to access our title plants or our geographic databases. So those are really the only times you actually have to pay on our website. And certainly if you're doing a very large volume of business, and you're going to download thousands of copies a month, and that's not unusual for a crew of landmen to do, then we certainly will work with you on pricing and make sure that we get you the data that you need, in an affordable manner. And so we're always willing to work with you on that. Now, Karen, I don't know if you're still on the line, but is there any other questions that maybe I need to answer that we haven't done so far?
No, I think you covered it.
I am seeing some questions that were posed by some of our folks here. What identifies a county as a title plant county? And the answer to that is, we build title plants for title insurance companies, and so what we've tried to do in that regard is to build the title plants in the large metropolitan areas. If you look at the 37 counties that we have title plants in, about 85% of all the title premiums in the entire state of Texas are done in those particular 37 counties, and so that's kind of where we've emphasized. Another question here. I work for an electric company, and we need to find easements quite often. Is there an easy way to find easements? Now, if you're using our title plant facilities, if we're in those counties, we do have a separate search where you can actually click on easements and be able to do an easement search. Also, too, if you know how an easement is typically indexed, so if it's indexed as the word easement or indexed as EAS or something like that, you can use the sub-search functionality to be able to narrow that down to strictly the easements that you might be looking for. And so that's it, I guess. I want to thank everybody. Again, if there were any other questions, I'm not seeing them here. So, but I want to leave with you, if I may, my direct line number. So if you do have any questions, I would invite you to give me a call. My phone number is 713-683-4012. And I know that all of y'all are working today, but I'm guessing there's probably quite a few landmen that are maybe taking off early this week. So if there's people that you know that are interested in our services, I will tell you, if you look along the left-hand side, we do have these, you can see like a little video camera icon. You can click on any of those particular video camera icons and be able to go to a YouTube channel. And we've tried to keep these videos down to a short. In this case, this is a 6-minute video, but we tried to keep them short and give you a tutorial about the different services that we provide. So you can share that with your folks, and certainly give me a call back when you have time, and be happy to walk you through the website and do some searching with you. So again, we greatly appreciate you being here. We hope you have a happy Easter, and we'll look forward to visiting with you soon. Thank you very much.